Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. I love not when the experts, the analysts, and all these guys whose jobs are or whose job is to make sure that they provide an accurate prediction of the future based on present and past examples or data and information. I'm talking the economists in this case. I'm talking about the Russian economy that was supposed to be dropping dead in the first 3 days of the special military operation that started in February 24th. And I have here an article that spells all the mistakes or all the unachievable goals that the Western countries set when they started imposing sanctions on Russia. It's a very interesting article, and it's interesting that they bring it right now when actually there were some of us who actually predicted that it will not happen what Wall Street said it will happen, which is total collapse of the Russian economy. This article comes from Business Insider from August 28, 2022 by George Glover. Wall Street predicted Russia's economy would collapse after it invaded Ukraine. These 3 charts show that hasn't happened. Captain Obvious, really? I told you that in the first few days of the invasion. So those guys on the Wall Street who are making a lot of money and they're in control of many economies and many lives, they are in control of many lives, they somehow missed it. And some of us did not. So what should happen? All right, let's go. Top investment banks expected Russia to suffer severe economic damage after it invaded Ukraine in February. What should you do with those investment banks? Credibility, zero. Zero. You can say, Emil, well, it was 50-50. It was 1 in 2. And they up. And there are banks, major, right? Investment banks who make decisions with billions of dollars. They somehow made a mistake just like that. Something that was very obvious, but they made a mistake. So who are in charge of those banks? I can tell you, the ones like Biden, like Kamala, like what's his name, Blinken, like Jack, whatever his name is, all these guys with IQ very, 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 very. You know what I mean. All right, but Russia's economy has held up better than expected, causing them to revise those predictions. Really? When did you revise the predictions? 3 days ago? Jesus Christ. Here are 3 charts that show the Russian economy resilience is in the 6 months ever since war started. Again, here are 3 charts that show the Russian economy's resilience in the 6 months since war started. Whew. Okay, when President Vladimir Putin's forces invaded Ukraine, blah, blah, blah. That's why you guys miss the point. Because you are, unfortunately, in your heart and your brain is foggy because of your ideologies and your lack of objectivity in reading and looking at the data. You are make-believe people who want to be like that. So then what do? You ignore facts just to fit your narrative. And obviously, the cake analogy that I always use, if you don't put the right ingredients and you don't find the recipe, the time, the quantities, the amount, the order of ingredients and the whole process, then it's not going to be a bake when you take it out of the oven. The same here. Why? If you ignore, you don't like sugar, you're not going to put sugar because sugar is bad and is white, then you're not going to, your cake is going to be it's not going to be sweet. So it's going to be like shit. I don't know how shit is, but I can tell you it's not sweet. Otherwise, but if you look at it, all the flies go on it, and flies like sweet. So might be something over there. I know. Let me know, guys, if you have information on that particular issue. So those dire warnings looked set to become reality in the weeks after war broke out. Western allies brought in economic sanctions such as an oil import bans and cutting the Russian ruble out of international currency markets. But Russia's economy has shown a lot of resilience. These 3 charts show how. So let's go and see the charts. Economic growth holds up. That's one of it. In March, top investment bank JP Morgan said Russia's gross domestic product would fall 35% in the second quarter compared with the previous. Goldman Sachs predicted its economy would suffer its worst contraction since the Soviet Union imploded in early 1990s. But Russia's GDP slipped only 4%. 4% year on year in the 3 months to June 30th. In fact, its economic growth shrank at a faster rate after the coronavirus pandemic broke out, when GDP fell 7.4% in the second quarter of 2020. So another corona, then you maybe achieve your goals. But with the war and your sanctions, nope. Given that, JP Morgan has concluded Russia's economy has held up under the weight of tough sanctions. And who was by the sanctions? You and I. Available data does not point to an abrupt plunge in activity, at least for now. It's now 6 months in it. Do the same thing. How is that the definition of insanity? You know, doing the same thing and expecting a different outcome? The same here. Continuing with the sanctions and expecting something to happen when everything shows that it goes down, down, down. What should you do if you're not insane? Change the course, something changes. That means sanctions up. Oh, I'm not for sanctions, Russia. But I don't want my life to be because these guys decided to. All right, available data. Okay, I got that one. The GDP profile therefore looks increasingly likely to be consistent with a drawn-out but not very sharp recession. Stronger than expected exports of Russian commodities, including crude oil, has helped support the economy. You didn't figure that out. You didn't know anything about politics, geopolitics, history, economy, right? And you're economists. And military tactics. Oh my God, look at these guys. They didn't expect it. Yeah. Commodities, including crude oil, they didn't expect it. You know, India was there. They didn't know that China was there to help out. They thought that those guys will not be in the name of the good. Or they will be yes men, like the weasels, bottom feeders from Europe. Obviously. The country has also benefited from robust demand among its own consumers and a Kremlin-devised program to keep unemployment low, according to the International Monetary Fund. Now, oil exports boosted by Asia pivot. You didn't expect that? You didn't see it? You didn't see it that they have the biggest pipe going to China, and you didn't see the friendship between China and which they said is more than an alliance? Did you hear that? Were you aware of that? Or you thought you're gonna bully China? That's what they thought. They thought they would bully China into submission and sanctions and all that, and China will listen to them. They didn't even figure out that those guys are closer than brothers. Jesus. And this is why the ingredients they put in their analysis got the report to be as faulty as it was, 35% and blah, 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 blah. They ignored this. Why? The people who are supposed to do this don't know anything about it. Or ideologically, dirty. Wall Street analysts, those guys, yes, also predicted that Western oil import bans would badly hurt Russia, the world's third largest oil producer behind the US and Saudi Arabia. I would fire those analysts from whatever jobs they have, and I would fire some other people that know something. These guys f you up. Or maybe they did it because they had to, but no, it can't be like an order. Its economy is heavily reliant on its energy exports, with oil and gas revenues making up 45% of its federal budget last year, according to the International Energy Agency. Now, someone said, well, you can say it's 45, but they suspect it's not 45 because they have a big underground market below, which is not based on energy. So then it's not 45, they claimed, some other economists, other experts, it was like maybe like 25. Between 25 and 45, 20% is just underground market, that it's not considered as market. So they don't consider it, but it is. So again, these guys don't know anything about it. The US put an embargo on Russian energy imports in March, while the EU agreed a phase ban which for now impacts 75% of Russian oil purchases. That means shooting yourself in the foot for us, because we're gonna kneel Putin and nothing. In March, Goldman Sachs said Moscow was unlikely to find other crude oil trading partners. So that means for those guys from Goldman Sachs don't know anything about life. Anything. They didn't pay attention to anything. They didn't know about Russia, as I said, India and other countries, China, that still buys that. These guys don't know anything about geopolitics. They are just unidimensional with economy. That's it. They don't know anything about politics, military, and all that, what I said before. To find other crude oil trading partners, given its explosion for the SWIFT. They thought the SWIFT will destroy everything. My God, these are so stupid. Being kicked from the SWIFT banking system prevented the Russian central bank from using its foreign reserves. They didn't need it. They didn't need it. Illustrating this point, there are no reports of increased Chinese purchases of Russian crude oil so far, with China similarly not scaling up imports of Iranian and Venezuelan crude in recent years. But Russia still exports 7.4 million barrels of its oil each day, according to Bloomberg. India's purchases of Russian oil have played a big part in it. And let's go to the last one, factory and services activity revives. So factory and services activity revives. Wall Street saw nothing but pain ahead of Russia's manufacturing and services sectors as Western economic sanctions hit. They thought, without us, there's zero. That's ideological. Ideological. How could they just turn like that? How can you not see that? In the wake of the Ukraine, unless you think the Russians are idiots, and then you say they cannot figure things out. That's another ideological and anthropological mistake here. In the wake of the Ukraine invasion, Russia's Composite Purchasing Managers Index, which tracks trends in the two sectors, tumbled. It slid from 50.8 in February to 37.7 in March, with a reading above 50 indicating growth and below 50 contracting. Goldman Sachs the strategist, said the contraction was broad-based with sharp drops in the output, new orders, and especially the new export order components. They noted Moscow should brace for further declines, but several months later, Russia's Composite PMI has risen back into growth territory. Okay, good job, Goldman Sachs strategists. The index climbed to 44.4 in April, rose about 50 in June, and hit 52.2 last month. The last reading means Russia's economic health is blooming, a far cry from the predictions of doom made on Wall Street. What do you want? Ever listen to an expert, a strategist, and this? Look at them. They failed miserably. I couldn't tell you at that time, when I made the videos in February and March about this, that March when they started with the sanctions, that they would not be able to nail these guys. Not because I'm an economist, but I know things around outside of it that play a role with China, with India. It's just human nature. It's just the survival of the country and the survival of the people. You don't look at the interpersonal relationship between leaders, which matters a lot. It's not look at Scholz, for instance, and Macron. They're not very friendly to one another. Look at Scholz. Actually, nobody's friendly with Scholz, just as an observation. But nevertheless, therefore, they're not really do a partnership with Germany. But they do with other countries that are, yes, and they are all fun. Well, what can I tell you? These guys, what should happen with these guys who obviously failed miserably at their jobs? And it's very important because they play with billions of dollars, people's lives, and global things. What should do with those? They are very unprepared, and they had only 50%. 50%. One or another. It's multiple choice with two options, and they up. Really? But these guys are in the government as well. These guys that make decisions and policies for us, that drags us in different wars and whatever they drag us. Do you think are better than this? What happens to them? Out of a job, never hired back in any position related to economy. They should start a different career. That's what they should do. Imagine you go to work and you do something like this, and the company is going to be like, "Whoo, we lost about $30 million here, but it's okay, John. We're going to promote you to the board of directors right now." Or the CEO position, the fifth. Yeah, and probably nothing happened with those guys. Why? That's a different video I'll make on. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.